Welcome to episode number 2 of Wrestling with the Mind. I'm your host, Matt Sigmund, health coach by day, pro wrestler by night, and I guess now a podcaster as well. I'm excited today to share a conversation I had with my good friend Sean Denny. But before I do that, just a little bit of housekeeping and a quick thank you for all of the wonderful messages and comments and shares over the last week with our first episode with Jason Kincaid. A lot of you found value and inspiration behind that, and that just makes me thrilled. I truly feel that we are on to something special here, and I look forward to growing this even more in the weeks ahead. We have some great people lined up to share their story. I think for the next 2 months we are booked, so I'm looking forward to delivering more conversations to you each and every week right here. We are now on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and more, YouTube as well. If we are not where you like to listen to podcasts, let me know your preferred method of subscribing and taking in podcasts, because I'm looking at expanding this in as many ways as possible, and so I want to make sure it's available to everybody interested. So be sure to drop me a message or even a comment, and we will get that done. Now let's hop into my chat with Sean Denny. Hey, so I'd like to welcome my good friend Sean Denny here. Sean is somebody who I've known for, I guess, going on close to 10 years now. We've traveled up and down the Carolinas and Virginia and West Virginia, battled each other from bell to bell, bloody at times. But now we get to sit down and have a chat here today around mental health. And Sean, I'm just happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
Absolutely. We have a lot of people tuning in that do come from the wrestling. They followed a little bit of the independents. So we have the general wrestling fan, but we also have got people who don't really know anything about wrestling. They are coming from all sorts of walks of life across the internet here. And so for those people who may or may not know you, if you don't mind, just give us an idea of who Sean Denny is.
Well, as far as wrestling goes, I've been doing it for about 23 years now, on the independents. Done some stuff for Ring of Honor. Really not much to tell. One half of the Geordie Bulldogs, and that's pretty much it.
Now you did the Geordie Bulldogs. You guys have been tagging together, legitimate brothers, been tagging together for how long?
Probably about 14, 15 years.
And now Mark, your brother, he's kind of not doing as much. And so are you doing more single stuff now, or how's that shaping up for you these
I've
days?
actually got an hilarious story to tell you about his retirement. So he wanted to retire.
Yeah.
And you know Marky, so you'll get a kick out of this. He wanted to retire, so he's having we set up that we're working one company where we have the belts. So they decide that's going to be his last match. We'll drop the belts, and
Right.
that'll be it. So we do the deal. We drop the belts to the freaks, and I do the gimmick where we get the kids in the ring.
Yeah.
I don't get in the ring with him. I leave him in by himself this time, and he starts bawling. So get the kids out of the ring, and the whole place starts chanting one more match, and the promoter hands him the microphone. So he goes from retiring to announcing that he's going to come back, guaranteeing that we're coming back next time, and next time will be his last match, and he promises he will be back for everybody, and I'll be back, and he even promised Benny would be back, the referee, and
You can
so
never.
he retired for all of 15 seconds.
And I'm sure there have been shorter retirements in wrestling. The one
I
thing
don't
about
know.
wrestling is, nobody goes away for too long. It's kind of ingrained in our blood. And you were talking about the kids coming around the ring. So that's one thing I did want to bring up, because I always thought that was cool. After matches with the Geordie Bulldogs, my side of things as the Heat Seekers, most of the time we're the heels, we're the bad guys. And we get these crowds just fired up dramatically. And
Yeah.
but you guys have always been able, no matter really the town that we've worked you guys in, you've always been able to connect with the kids in particular on a high level. And I don't know if it's just charisma or the characters you guys bring out or the masks or all, the whole combination. But one thing after you guys like pick up a victory, if you win the match, whatever, you get the kids involved and they're hopping the guardrails and they line up and you guys all dance around the ring. I've been there when it's like 30 some odd kids or more, or sometimes even more than that. And then get in the ring and all these kids are just having a blast. And you guys have created some really special memories for these kids that I don't think a lot of people these days understand. And a lot of guys, they want to go out and they do their 5-star, crazy high athletic, high impact matches, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever if that's what makes you happy. But you guys have created some true emotional moments over the years, and it's been really cool as far as my side of things to be a part of that. Just being the flame to the fire to put the heat on the situation, and then you guys make that big comeback and just connect with these kids and just seeing the light in their eyes is awesome. So that's one thing in wrestling wise I did want to highlight, just how you guys were able to connect so well with the crowd and kids in general. It's like magic.
I don't know if you remember this, but the first time we ever did that was on the fly, and it was after the Crockett Cup with you guys with the belts.
Yeah.
We won the
Was that
Crockett
the
Cup
first
belts
time?
with you guys. That was the first time we did it. We just did it on the fly. We were bringing there was grown-ups and everything coming in the ring the first time, and
That's
then we just
awesome.
did it at AML like on the fly. We didn't really ask permission or anything. We should have, but we didn't, and it just started there.
You know that some of the best moments, though, in wrestling are off the fly, and I think most people would agree. Like you're reacting to a moment and an environment that you've manipulated and set the tone for, and it's just perfect timing on a lot of things. And so that's sometimes when you get the best moments. So in terms of mental health, the highlight here on the podcast is putting awareness here on mental health, because not a lot of people do. I mean, it's growing, but I feel there is a big need for more awareness around it and the challenges and struggles people go through, as well as just some of the inspiring stories around it and just thoughts around it and ways people can adapt and overcome. You have always been one on social media and just even when we're talking in the locker room one-on-one to and correct me if I'm wrong, but to sometimes wear your heart on your sleeve. You'll let everybody know kind of what's going on that day, and you're not afraid to really set it out there for people to see. And I've always thought that was that takes a lot of strength to show it to others when a lot of people hide it or maybe protect it is a better word. And you have always been out there kind of just showing people who you are, and sometimes when a rough day pops up or something, you'll share about it and then get feedback or encouragement or whatever it might be that you're looking for in that situation. But go into a little bit of mental health with me. With what does good mental health look like for you?
Good mental health is just what anyone else would consider a normal day. I'm bipolar and ADHD. I have anxiety disorder and severe depression.
Mhm.
So a normal day is just good mental health for me.
Yeah.
Um,
And I imagine that even doing something like this can bring on, especially with anxiety and things, it can having this chat can bring on some feelings of some way, and however that makes you feel. Number one is totally okay. But I just want to thank you again for taking a step out of that comfort zone and coming here to chat about some of this stuff, because I think a lot of people can find value and inspiration behind that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a little bit of anxiety, but that's daily. Yeah, I hit you up the other day to let you know I was worried about
Mm.
it.
Yeah, and I messaged you back. You told me you're having some anxiety about hopping on here, and I just tell you the same as way as I did Kincaid and anybody else that I'm communicating with about this project. This is a safe space. This is a place where we're just kind of open and laid back and no pressure, or at least no intended pressure on things. Just kind of having a chat about mental health and different aspects of it. So, in terms of it, what do you feel or what do you wish more people understood about the importance of mental health?
I think I just wish more people understood that everybody really goes through it.
Mm,
It's not just certain people that go through mental health issues. There's going to be something in your life that will cause you to be depressed, have anxiety, just put you off your normal routine.
mm-hmm.
Even if you're completely fine, you could lose a pet or God forbid like a child or something or a parent, and it could put you in a depressive state for months.
Mm-hmm.
It's really something that's not avoidable by anybody.
That's so
Uh,
true. And that's something that I think more people over time are starting to slowly become aware of, and just the different levels that it can impact people too. I mean, like you said, for some people, it's an event like a loss of a pet or just a particularly bad day. And then there's different events with anxiety and you mentioned the ADHD. And that's another aspect to it too. And that's something that over time, I'm not quite 100% diagnosed, but my wife and then just looking at my patterns and things, believe that I ADHD impacts me on a
yeah.
on a daily basis, just with my focus patterns and things. So wrestling, you said you've done it for 23 years. Was that right?
Yep.
Yeah. How has wrestling impacted your mental health?
It's kind of a. I'd have to tell you a little bit of a story. I was undiagnosed bipolar and ADHD most of my life.
Okay.
So early on in my wrestling career, I'd be manic, and it's something we talked about with my therapist. Um, I felt invincible and indestructible. So those days would really help with the wrestling,
Right.
and you feel like you're a god that you can't be stopped. It really helps you get in the ring and pretend you're somebody else and have no fear of doing stupid stuff. Wrestling itself has been a good thing for my mental health. It's something to look forward to. It's something I enjoy doing, but there's been personal things that have happened during wrestling that have affected my mental health in a negative way.
Hmm.
Um, like things with ending friendships and bad endings with girlfriends and things like that that
Right.
have
Yeah.
affected me in a negative way.
And I think that that's something a lot of people, when they look at the wrestling business, fans or wrestlers alike, they don't think about some of that aspect of it, the behind the curtain scenes, and just how challenging it can be. It
Yeah.
is it can strain friendships, especially if it's somebody you're working with, you're traveling with. Those can be impacted in big ways.
Hmm.
Relationships, you were talking about girlfriends, and so many relationships suffer in the wrestling business because of the travel, time apart, distance, and then other random odds and ends and bad decisions that happen along
Yeah.
everybody's journey here in the business, especially. But yeah, and it's cool to see some of the good that can come from wrestling too, just with a sense of community and just having a band of brothers and sisters. I want to include the
Hmm.
girls here too, because at the end of the day, when you find your crew, you're like family. So I look at you guys, for instance, in wrestling, you have a lot of acquaintances and only a certain amount of friends. But then there are those select people that no matter how long time has gone, no matter how far apart you guys have been, maybe you guys haven't been working the same shows, whatever. When you see those people, you pick up like time never stopped, and you guys have always been like that to me and to Elliot. Just how we always click instantly as soon as that door opens in the locker room, and
Well,
just kind of connecting and cutting up and laughing and bringing some energy into the room. So that's always been really cool.
me and Marco have said if we had to work just one tag team forever, we'd work you guys. We
Well,
take you guys to work all the time.
it's always fun because we always get along. We know the end game of what it needs to be, whatever, the night,
Hmm.
no matter what it calls for, we can make the most of it. And I
Yep.
know going into the ring with you guys, I'm not going to get hurt.
Yeah, it's safe. No one's gonna step on anyone's toes.
Yeah, I'm going to walk out feeling almost at least just as good as I did walking in.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to get home and play with my daughter and not get in the floor crying from back pain or knee pain the next day. So, how do you personally prioritize self-care in regards to just your health journey here? What works best for you?
Well, what works best for me is medication. I play video games to just pass the time. I draw a lot and therapy. That's really what works best for me. I'm not really good at self-care.
Hmm.
I really let it slip a lot because I get caught up in my own brain.
Right.
With bipolar, I'm on a mood stabilizer and then a really strong antidepressant. So I don't really get manic as much. I don't know if you know how bipolar works. You have two states that you slip into, hypermania or mania, depending on which bipolar you are, which is the over the top state where you'll spend every penny you have sex with people like just and not care about it and think you're
Right.
invincible. And then there's the depression where you can't function at all.
Mm.
A big thing I do is spend time with my dog,
Mm.
go to the park, throw the frisbee for him, just get outside. It's important for me to have a dog because otherwise I won't leave the house.
Right.
I'll just stay in the house. So it's important that I have a dog or I won't leave the house.
What kind of dog do you got? I've got a 2 pound Yorkie that thinks he's a giant.
I don't know if you can hear him barking in the background, but I got this little Australian cattle dog. About a year and a half ago, my dog passed away. He was 14 and a half. His name was Blade, and
Mm.
he was such a good dog. He was like my therapy dog.
Yeah.
He was always there for me. Like if I was down, he was right there. If I was napping, he was napping. He passed away, and I wasn't leaving the house without having a dog to take on a walk and things. I was just not showering. I wasn't doing anything, and so we went to rescue another dog, and we got this adorable little cattle dog. He was like 6 months old, and he fooled us, man. Like we went in and we sat in a little area where they introduced you to the dog, and he was so sweet, and
Yeah.
he looked so loving in your eyes,
Hooked
and
you instantly.
oh yeah, and we got him home, and he's a little asshole.
Oh, that's great. That's great. You mentioned the medication. So is that something that took some trial and error to balance out and get you to where you feel good, or how does that look for you?
Yeah, it takes time. It's something I think with medication, I think it's a constant thing where they'll change your dosage, change your medication, um, change things. Like I was telling you, I'm on a mood stabilizer and
Mm.
a high antidepressant. I'm on a stimulant for the ADHD, and I have ris not risperidone. Risperidone is the mood stabilizer. Lorazepam, which is something I could take if I'm having really bad anxiety, like I'm going to have a panic attack
Okay.
or I need to calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely trial and error. It was figuring out what was wrong with me first, and then figuring out how to tackle it with medication.
Mm. And you mentioned some other ways that you're helping yourself with the dog. You mentioned video games, which I too connect with. I mean, that's always been one of my go-to kind of escapes and ways to engage my brain in other activities. Is that something you've done for a long time or recent?
Oh no, I've played video games since I was a kid. All the way back. I'm so old. I played on the Commodore 64.
When I was 2 years old, I found a Nintendo that my parents had got me, and they weren't going to give it to me right away. But I found it, and then I guess I made them hook it up, and then I started playing Mario and the Wheel of Fortune game and like one of the Sesame Street games. And I mean, terrible, I'm sure, at all of them at the age of 2, but the controller has never left my hand pretty much
Yeah,
since that time. So, yeah, that's
it's an addiction.
it is, but I think and it's just like wrestling too. I think there are pros and cons. I've been able to develop a lot of friendships over the years through video games. There can be a lot of negativity with it as well, just with certain communities and the way people go about it. But I've always tried to develop some positive friendships and have a healthy relationship with video games outside of it, draining a lot of the time out of my days.
The funny thing is with my anxiety, I can't play online. I'm so nervous about what people are going to be thinking or what they're going to say or what they're going to think about me, how they're going to feel about me that I don't
Hmm.
play online. But I do play in a Dungeons and Dragons group every week
Yeah.
with people online that I've met and become friends with.
And that's, the cool part about video games too, outside of it just being a good medium of entertainment, there's something literally for everyone. So if you are wanting to engage socially and have touch point interactions with people, there's games for that. If you want something peaceful, just to kind of calm the mind and just do something creative, you've got outlets for that with Minecraft and other creation
Yeah.
kind of games. And then if you want something where you're not really interacting with other people and you just want to go on a solo adventure, I mean that for me it's always been those kind of games where I love, with like Mass Effect and
Oh
Elden
yeah.
Ring and
Dragon Age.
Assassin's Creed series and Dragon Age and Witcher, just some of those solo games, single player, where you're in the story but you don't have to worry about the rest of the world. And that's always been a hook for me too.
I'm hooked on Midnight Suns right now.
I haven't tried it yet, but I'm dying to play it.
It's addictive.
It's on my list of things, and then mobily, I play a lot of that Marvel Snap game, the card game, and I'm
Yeah.
usually not into the card collecting and card engagement games, but this one has me hooked just because I think it's so well made, and it is all my favorite Marvel characters too.
Yeah.
So
Midnight Suns, the combat's done with cards.
yeah, I heard that, and so I can't wait to check it out. I'm gonna play it on Xbox probably in the next few weeks. I'll try to get a hold of it. What advice would you have for others who may be struggling with their mental health?
Don't struggle alone. It's for me, I was very embarrassed about my mental health when it first started happening. When I was diagnosed bipolar and not so much the ADHD. I've known that since I was a kid, but I didn't get diagnosed till I was in my 30s.
Mm-hmm.
But the being bipolar, I was very embarrassed by it. I thought there was something wrong with me, and it caused me to close myself off even more than I normally do. And I'm a very closed person. It wasn't until I started talking to people and being more open about it, and then my friend Jack started making fun of me about it, that that it became okay. It was
Yeah.
just a normal thing, and then that let me be more open about it online and talk to people. And now I have people that hit me up when they're having bad days or they're not feeling good, they're depressed
Mm-hmm.
or they're manic or whatever. They'll hit me up to just talk. And sometimes it's people I don't know. It's just Facebook people.
Yeah, and that's
But my advice would be to talk to people to get help. Don't struggle through it on your own. That's the
mhm.
worst thing you can do.
That's so true, and that's a lot of why I wanted to create this podcast, was to help people share their stories, similar to what you're doing here today, just to tell people that they're not alone in this. There are people out there willing to listen. There's communities. We're trying to build one here, but it's in the early infant stages. But there are communities out there with a lot of people that are willing to listen and give you ideas and help and strategies and things. So, and that's something I'm really wanting to do in building this podcast and the website associated, is to give people just another option for support and just
Yeah.
hearing stories. So it's very powerful, I think, hearing somebody else's story. I think when people realize that they're not alone in a situation, whether it be through mental health or whatever it may be, just letting others know that there are people out there, willing to, can be just so powerful. So yeah, thank you again for doing this, by the way, because
Oh no,
your
thank you
your
for having me.
story is a very solid one too, and hits a lot of points that people are probably challenged with going from day to day that are listening right now. How do you hope to use your experiences with mental health to help others going forward? I know you mentioned how people will message you out of the blue. Sometimes people you don't even know asking you questions or looking for support. Like, how do you hope to use that experience?
I just hope to be open and help others. Like with my mental health, though, about a year and a half ago, my girlfriend broke up with me like out of nowhere.
Mm,
And then a couple of months later, my dog died.
mm,
And I was just in the worst place ever. Like I was suicidal. I wasn't showering. I lost all energy to do anything. Like even things I loved, like playing video games and things like
mm.
that, felt like a giant chore. I'd start to think about everything involved with actually playing the video game, and I would talk myself out of it. And I would just basically sit in my chair all day and just do nothing.
Yeah.
I just want people to know that like anybody after hearing this, if they want to reach out to me, if they're not feeling good, they just need somebody to talk to. You're worried about maybe taking your own life, or just you're just really depressed, or you're manic, or you're not really sure about what you're going through with your mental health. My inbox is always open.
That's awesome. And kind of as we're about to wrap things up, how can people find you? I know you said your inbox is open, so let's point them in the right direction here. What's the social media connections look like? Where can we find
Um,
Sean Denny?
like I joked with you earlier, I'm really like a 95-year-old when it comes to technology. So all I have is Facebook.
Okay.
So they can find me at Sean Denny on Facebook,
Yeah.
and that's it. Like I couldn't handle all the other ones.
And as long as it's okay with Sean, I will post a link to his Facebook here
Yeah, please
on
do.
the show notes within the podcast. Anything you want to plug or anything you want to kind of chat about before we do wrap up?
No, I'm good. Uh, I think it's a brilliant thing that you're doing
Oh,
here.
thank you. Yeah, yeah. No, this is, and this is not just me. This is a culmination of a lot of people I've talked to, and it's going to take a team. I include you on that team now, so we'll
Thank you.
probably be calling on you from time to time to jump in, and I eventually want to do like roundtable discussions at some point, not just one-on-ones. And I think that there can be a lot of value added from that as well.
Anything I can do to help, just let me know.
Yeah, much appreciated, my friend. Well, Sean, I thank you for coming on today. We look forward to having you in the future. I love you, my brother, and we'll talk
Love you
soon,
too.
okay? I just want to thank Sean yet again for coming on here and sharing his story, stepping out of that comfort zone, just to let you guys hear a little bit about him and his journey. I truly appreciate it. Like I was saying earlier, we have some wonderful people lined up for the weeks to come. I can't wait to announce a few of those. If you would like to share your story beyond here, I would love to chat with you. Connect with me on Facebook. You can go to wrestlingmind.com for all the links to our social media. Get on there, connect with us, and we'd love to hear from you. The way we grow this podcast is going to be through your support. This is a team effort. So if you have the ability to do so, please get online, share our links, subscribe, leave reviews. It is so much appreciated. You can go to wrestlingmind.com for all things related to the show and find out the best ways you can support us. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Get out and do something awesome with today.